Volunteer work is the cornerstone that joins charitable service and hard work. The benefits of volunteer work reach far and wide with a ripple effect that begins with the individual and extends beyond the larger community, benefiting everyone in its wake. A local nonprofit is in need of your help, and we have all the details coming up on Polk Place. Welcome to Polk Place. I'm your host, Lauren Lingell. Joining me in studio, we have Peg Parche, who is the volunteer coordinator for Good Shepherd Hospice in Lakeland.
Yes.
Okay. And next to her, we have Bailey, who goes right along with Miss Kathy Lerner, who is a volunteer for Good Shepherd Hospice. So
They're both
welcome.
volunteers.
They are both volunteers.
Yes.
And we have lots to talk about since it's actually volunteer Appreciation Month.
Yes, April's National Volunteer Appreciation Month.
So before we get into volunteering and talking about that, tell me a little bit about what exactly Good Shepherd does.
Good Shepherd Hospice is a not-for-profit hospice providing end-of-life care for patients with chronic terminal illnesses who are in the last 6 months of their life, based on their diagnosis.
Sure. Is it always an end-of-life care situation?
Well, for hospice care, yes.
Okay.
We're usually talking about a person who has been diagnosed with something that, they've progressed, the disease progression will probably lead to their demise within 6 months.
Well, that's sad, but it's a very important time.
Yes.
Also.
And just to clarify that, sometimes people come to us, they stay longer than 6 months because some people think that it's limited to 6 months. But because every disease takes its own path, sometimes people are with us longer.
Absolutely. So that organization, how far reaching is it? What areas do you serve?
Well, Good Shepherd Hospice is part of Chapters Healthcare.
Okay.
And we are the hospice affiliate that provides services for Polk, Highlands, and Hardy County.
Okay, fantastic.
We have over 600 patients at any given time, even higher than that. On our census, most of them reside in their homes, whether it's the home they raise their family in, the home they retired to, apartment, wherever it is they reside. Some will be in nursing homes or assisted living facilities. And then there's those who are in the critical care need who reside in one of our hospice house, or I would say we call it our inpatient units where they stay when they need that care.
And just for clarification for some of our viewers, when people have heard the term, they're going to call in hospice, or they're talking about this type of care.
Yes, they are. And the misnomer often used is they're in hospice. We're actually hospice services come to you wherever it is you reside.
So with that, your main focus is volunteers. So
Yes.
tell me a little bit about what you do and what the volunteer need with Good Shepherd is.
Well, hospice is a very unique healthcare provider in that it is required by law that 5% of our care be provided by volunteers. So we have a very active volunteer program. And the opportunities vary from direct patient support like Kathy and Bailey do with their visits, administrative support, phone calls behind the scenes, greeters of the hospice house, visitors. Respite care in the home is a big one to give the caregiver a break so they can go to the grocery store or things like that. No hands-on care. No clinical services are provided by volunteers, and no hands-on care is done by volunteers.
You mentioned several different types of volunteer roles. Now, do all of your volunteers come equipped with a wonderful little dog, or is that just something?
Our animal visits, they're one of our special volunteer programs. We do have several four-legged volunteers like Bailey who come and provide a very special interaction with our patients, and they come to both our hospice houses and assisted living facilities, nursing homes, sometimes in the home, but primarily in facilities is where they provide that visit.
Okay, I want to go back to that in just a second. But the volunteers that do interact with patients who are in hospice care, what are some of the things that they do? What's their responsibility, if you will?
We do a lot of companionship for patients. I don't think people realize that over 50% of patients in nursing homes have no visitors at all. So when our patients are at end of life and in a nursing home or assisted living facility, sometimes that's the only visitor they're getting. So that really is a great support to them. In the nursing homes, in the homes we have volunteers that provide just a friendly visit for those that are still trying to maintain their independence and live alone. Most in the home setting, it's going to be respite care to give the caregiver a break, or we have our own little food pantry where, because some of our patients, I mean, a terminal diagnosis can greatly affect the finances of a family, especially if it's a young family. And so we have started a food pantry, and they bring the groceries and food and do shopping for our patients.
So, Kathy, you were telling me before the show a great story about how you got into volunteering for hospice. Would you be willing to share that with us?
Certainly, certainly. I was very fortunate that I had a wonderful experience with hospice with a family member in Denver. And although I knew nothing about hospice up until that point, it made such a profound effect on my family that I decided that once I stopped working, and I was in retirement, that would be the very first thing I would volunteer to do. And if I could give one family any of the comfort the volunteers had given my family, it would all be worth it. And as soon as I retired, I took the training that's offered by hospice, and haven't looked back. I've been doing it for 6 years, almost 6 years, and a year into that, one of the nice things that hospice does is it provides monthly training opportunities for all of their volunteers, quite a variety of different trainings. And at one point, we had somebody from a therapy dog organization, and they said, if you have a dog that you'd like to bring with you and you think it's a dog that would be good for volunteering at hospice, they'd be happy to meet with us and discuss the training. And Bailey had been just a house dog. She'd really never been out in public, but we decided to take the training, and she absolutely loved it. She was a natural, and she just got her 5-year pin for being a volunteer at Good Shepherd Hospice, and she looks forward to it every week. She does.
That's one of the things that some people don't realize about animals, and not every animal is the same, but animals are very intuitive. And as we were talking before the show, she seems to have that very special gift of knowing just where to be.
She does, and we have some excellent animals like her. They really sense someone who's got a little sadness in their soul. They can zoom in on it in a room, and they go right to that person, and she'll come, Bailey will do it, and some of the others lay right next to their leg and just say, I'm here for you. We call it Bailey love. So,
Kathy, did you want to share one of the instances that you've experienced, how Bailey's kind of been able to read the room, so to speak?
We've been privileged to work with so many wonderful patients and their families, and it is a stressful time for the families, for sure. And many of the families come from out of state. We've even had people who have come from out of country to be with their loved ones at the end of life. And Bailey will go into a room, as Peg has said, and go around, and she will find the people that need her attention. We've had situations where we've been at funerals, and she has actually, during one, walked straight to the very front of the room and sat next to the daughter of the person who was actually a volunteer who had passed away, who she did not know, had not met, and jumped up on the chair right next to the gentleman's daughter and sat there for the remainder of the service with her. And she thanked us so much later on that was just what she needed. And we don't know how she knows to do that, but that's just one of the things that she does.
And you're very special, but you're not the only one who has this wonderful gift.
No,
but I can imagine there's something very, very special about her. Having spent just a few minutes with her, I can tell that she is a fantastic companion, and I can tell she's your buddy. She's your little girl.
She is.
Yes.
She is.
But I got to tell you, you paint a picture of someone who is in the end stages of life, who may or may not have visitors, and then you have someone like Bailey come into the room. How does that change what they're experiencing?
Well, I'd like to say, for Bailey visits in our Lakeland Hospice House. So when we're talking about a person who's in our hospice house at our inpatient unit, often the family's there. The patient may not be responsive, but we have a family there. So she's providing a lot of support to the family. And but sometimes the patient is alone, and she recognizes that and spends that time with them. But
one of the nice things is many of the families, I can't say most, but many of the families have dogs of their own, or have had to leave their dogs to come to the hospice house, and inevitably interacting with Bailey will elicit some story that they'll want to share with me, and it brings a smile to their face, or they'll talk about something that's still very pleasant for them, and it just gives them a little respite from thinking about and experiencing this really difficult time with the patient. So it just gives them a little bit of time to have a pleasant interaction with something that's positive and fun. And she has some different things that she does to entertain the families, and they get quite a kick out of that.
And you mentioned before, she has this wonderful ability to bond with some of the people she visits with. So much so that they make videos.
Yes, we did. We had a wonderful patient, an elderly woman who was quite articulate, and she and Bailey made a wonderful bond, and so much so that we went up a little more frequently than we normally do, because the woman requested interaction time with Bailey, and anytime somebody makes a request, we're up there right away. So her son came up and with his phone took a video of his mother and Bailey and their interactions, and it was just lovely. He then transferred that to her computer, which he had on her little table, and after she left hospice care and went to her next living arrangement, she shared, we heard, people shared with Peg later, that she would always open up the computer and share the experiences that she had that were so positive at the hospice house with Bailey. And we were just so pleased that we could offer that service to them.
Now, I mean, obviously that's just the greatest thing if you can give somebody some moments of joy, especially in whatever situation they may be in. But how do you get to the point where, what are some of the things that Bailey had to do to get to this point?
That's an excellent question, because many people have dogs that are absolutely their family members.
Right.
And they are joys in the life of their home, with their family, their children. But just like Bailey, until she began the training, I did not realize how many other behaviors she would have to learn to be out in public and interacting with strangers on a continual basis, and the amount of interaction and care she would have to have with me and be under my control, because you can't always know what's coming in a strange environment as opposed to in your own home. So it was a very different set of behaviors that she had to learn to become a certified therapy dog, where I would know and I could count on her behavior in any variety of circumstances that were new to her. And the training was just wonderful. It was wonderful for her. It's improved her life, my life, and I can honestly say that I can take her anywhere, and I can be assured of the behavior she's going to have, and the situation she will be able to react in, and it's been a great asset.
And just like any volunteer, you want your volunteers to be in an environment where they're safe. You want the people that they're visiting to be safe.
Right.
So you've got all of that happening. So you wouldn't have Bailey visit someone who may have some sort of infectious disease.
Yeah, if they have isolation issues,
Sure.
then they are prevented. They're blocked from care. We don't visit people with those those situations. And it's a shame because some of them could use it, but it's just for both their safety and the dogs.
And we also have patients that bring their own dogs from their homes, which is a service that is wonderful.
At our hospice house, yes, people are allowed to bring their own pets in.
And we don't usually have Bailey go in those rooms because those may be dogs that we can't be sure how they interact with other dogs, so we don't put her in a situation where it might not be helpful to her.
Exactly, the same way you would with a human volunteer. And I think that's what's very, very interesting about that, because she has to listen to you because you know what the dangers are if there are medications or things like that that she needs to not touch.
Right.
So I think that's very, it's awesome that we have that extended over to our four-legged volunteers. So
yes, we do have to be very cautious about them in that environment for their safety. So she needs to stretch a little bit.
So in honor of Volunteer Appreciation Month, and in honor of Kathy and Bailey and everybody else who volunteers, thank you guys for all of your work.
Sit down.
Is there anything else that we need to cover?
We have many different opportunities for people who want to volunteer, including the pet therapy. Most of our volunteers come from a background where they've been a caregiver or had a hospice experience, so they understand that, but not everyone. It's really, we're looking for people who have a compassionate heart, who want to be there to support families. Again, they don't have to be direct patient contact. They can be support in the area and help support our staff administratively, doing phone calls. We're always looking for people to call, use the phone and call our patients. We have several telephone call programs. Visiting patients in the home is probably one of our greatest needs. Just giving that caregiver a little break, to get out of the house and run to the store and just spend some time with that patient while so the caregiver can get a break from that 24/7 job.
Absolutely, and it takes its toll on an individual. People in my family have spent many years caring for my grandparents and things like that, and it is a labor of love. And many of them would never change it for the world, but it is so nice to have that time to just take care of a couple of things. So,
and all volunteers have to go through a special training, background check, fingerprint. There's a lot of requirements. We do ask a lot of our volunteers, but we are working with at-risk population. We want to make sure that only the best people are there to visit and support our families and their patients.
Thank you all for being here, and thank you for talking with me and bringing Bailey in. The work that you do is very important, and I wish you the best of luck and many years to continue doing that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for all the volunteers out there who
absolutely.
do help make our community so better places.
Fantastic. When you have so much to share, there's so much you can do to help another. From something as simple as whispering a kind word to lending a helping hand to a family, there are many hospice volunteer opportunities with Good Shepherd Hospice that provide support in a variety of areas. Volunteers working directly with hospice patients are required to attend a thorough training. Office and community volunteers are oriented to the organization in a more condensed training session. All training sessions are provided free of charge during daytime and evening hours. Good Shepherd Hospice has volunteer opportunities to suit people with a variety of interests and talents. Days and times are flexible and every role is valued. If you have 1 to 4 hours per week and have a true desire to help, they invite you to embark on your own life-changing journey as a Chapters Health volunteer. For more information, you can give them a call at 863-583-3129 or look them up on the web at www.chaptershealth.org.